Program Director at Gravity Sketch. Our mission in the education team is to give the designers of tomorrow new tools and workflows to really unleash their creativity, help them collaborate in a new way with their peers and professors, and also to help them find amazing career opportunities. So this year, we launched our sponsorship program, which is where we aim to connect our very top university partners with industry-leading companies to give students the unique opportunity to review their designs at true scale with professional designers across the world. So our team, we provide the hardware, training, resources necessary to really allow these students to discover the power of virtual reality within their own unique workflows. And students really get that invaluable feedback from industry-leading designers who can actually review their designs at one-to-one scale with them, across time zones, across countries. And I think we've really seen how this can accelerate students' learning and let them think about their designs in new ways that might not have been possible before. And another key goal of these sponsorships is to give these students the upper hand in finding career-changing opportunities by spotlighting them on social media and also matchmaking them with our industry partners. So our first sponsorship kicked off this September, which we're very excited about, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. We are working with one of the world's very best art and design universities, ArtCenter College of Design in California. And we're also partnering with the iconic Jeep brand. We've challenged 11 students to design the next generation of electrified autonomous Jeep Wrangler. The students from this sponsorship used Gravity Sketch for the very first time just a few weeks ago. And they've come an incredibly long way since then in exploring their concepts in VR. And today we're going to have a really exclusive peek into this ongoing project that isn't finished yet, looking at some of the amazing work from one of the top students in this class. So without further ado, I want to introduce everyone joining us today. So maybe first, Marek, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Marek Djordjevic. I am the faculty on this project. I usually lead the sponsor projects, industry sponsor projects at ArtCenter, as well as a couple of other classes, the senior thesis and the experimental process class. It's been hugely exciting to be part of this project as our involvement at ArtCenter with Gravity Sketch was born out of that. One of the classes that I teach was the experimental process, where we seek new tools, new techniques in both 2D and 3D and physical and digital format. And Gravity Sketch just had all that it took to stick around and not be something we only try once. And ever since, it's been growing in its application and the amazing results that we've been getting from it.
Thanks, Marek. Mark, if you could please introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, Mark Moushegian. I'm a design manager at the Vision and Advanced Studio at Stellantis, and we're responsible for all the brands in North America as far as the future reach for those brands. So it's a great opportunity to work with ArtCenter as we really enjoy getting involved with the school, and it's a really good opportunity to help nurture and guide the next generation of designers. So it's a good opportunity.
Thanks, Mark. And let's go to Ali.
Hey everyone, my name is Ali Musavi. I am an automotive design consultant at Gravity Sketch, formerly a Stellantis exterior designer. I worked on numerous brands such as Jeep. My role with the project has been assisting the education team and training the students to use the tool. And I'm very excited to look at the project today that Jonathan has and dive into Gravity Sketch.
And last but not least, let's go to Jonathan.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan Kafori. I apologize in advance. I'm a little bit getting over a cold, so I'm a little sick still. But I'm a 7th term transportation design student at ArtCenter. I have a little bit of previous background in power sports as well, which you'll kind of see throughout this project. And before this class, I hadn't used Gravity Sketch at all, so I came in September as a total newbie to the project and to the tool in general. So really excited to show you all where I've come since then.
Thanks, Jonathan. And to kind of provide a bit of context at this point, Marek, could you maybe share a few words around what stage this sponsorship is at right now and what the students are working on?
Sure. So following research and the concept development, we had a review with the sponsors choosing the best direction. And then having had midterm just a couple of weeks ago, we had a design selection for a particular theme to go forward with. So right now, students are very deeply wrestling those ideas towards a final proposal that will be presented week 14. We're in week 9 right now.
Fantastic. So very excitingly, we are now going to hand over to Jonathan, who is going to present his concept so far to us.
Yeah, if everyone can look at Emma's screen, please, that's where it's going to be presented. So let's see. All right. So hi again, everyone. For anyone who missed it, I'm Jonathan Kafori. This is my Dune Wrangler project. So starting this brief, I really wanted to find something that bridges the gap between power sports and the Jeep Wrangler. So something that's basically bringing a higher level of sophistication to a power sports project while also making the Wrangler more dynamic than it is in its current state. One of the materials I've been looking at that's really kind of become core to the project is Brayon, which is essentially a flexible material that's stronger than steel. And then in terms of my inspiration, I'm looking at inspiration that's both playful and geometric, as well as kind of pure and dynamic. So really trying to tie into kind of the duality between both parts of the project. For the package, I'm looking at having a low center of gravity, as well as a high polar momentum to really make the car handle like a rally car, something perfect for, the dunes. And then in terms of my CMF at the bottom, we have a tactile, more sensory feeling CMF, something that feels both rugged and sophisticated, but also approachable. Really don't want this to feel intimidating in any way. And then moving on to my storyboard, this is really just a day in the life of the user. And then next to that, we have kind of my animation rundown for the following animation that we'll see at the end of the project, not of this presentation, unfortunately. But this is basically just highlighting my users live in Florence, Oregon, which, if anyone's ever been, is basically a set of sand dunes along the coast of Oregon. So I imagine a user that's basically both utilizing the sand dunes and the beach and kind of running through a quick story through using all of that. And then moving on to the gear. So with any power sports project, with something that's as exposed as this will be in its kind of sand dune state, I needed to have masks as well as kind of helmets integrated. So looking at, especially like the movie Dune, looking at a lot of sci-fi inspiration, I wanted something that feels both anamorphic and pure, as well as geometric. And then I also looked into the flashlight/headlight design. So this was just an idea I had in terms of using the headlight as a removable flashlight. I figured there will be a ton of practical uses for that. Not just, sand duning at night, but also really any just standard use of the Wrangler. And then moving on to the 2D sketches. So I'll start with 2D, despite the fact that this hasn't been a very linear process, I'd say, as far as the design process has been. I'll start in 2D because I think it's easiest too. So looking at, this is the key sketch, this first, what Emma's focusing on right now. What Mark and I both liked about this was that it feels like kind of a redefinition of modular design, something that feels a little bit more holistic, but still has that really modular Wrangler approach. And then if we continue on too, you can see the removable grille, as well as some of the frame design, lower control arm design, being something that really is tying back into power sports. You need to really design everything. So I wanted that to really be the case for this vehicle. You can see here also the foldable glass. This is really a callback to the Wrangler's history, has always been the ability to have the front glass fold forward. And looking into foldable glass technology that we already have access to in smartphones, I really wanted to see where we can bring that in the automotive industry. It seems by 2030 that it can be a realistic option. So I think it's kind of a nice futuristic take on something that's iconic for the Wrangler. And then going on to the kind of key sketch, you can really see that open feel using a big greenhouse gives it that feel of, even when the body panels aren't taken off, being in something that's really raw, like a power sports side by side or something. And then looking at the wheels, these are basically just two different wheel sketches, two different wheel directions. I ended up liking the top one best, as Emil's showing right now, just because it feels the most rugged. There's a lot of high level of detail to it and hierarchy that I think relates better to a rugged vehicle like this. And then we can also see the renders. One of the things that I've really enjoyed with Gravity Sketch is that the renders no longer really serve the exact same purpose that they do in a traditional project. So I've really taken this to mean I can really use these to show artistic expression, rather than just highlighting, absolutely every transition or so on in a surface to make sure that everything's extremely credible. We have the data for that, and honestly does so in a much better way anyway. Then we can also see some of the interior is really looking to kind of bring a level of refinement to the frame and kind of roll cage that you would get in a power sports project, bringing a level of beauty into that. And we can also see basically the vehicle stripped down to the sand dune setting. You have the door panels taken off, you have that front glass folded down, really bringing that level of rawness to the project, something a little bit more dynamic as well than in the street version. And then at the end of this, we can look at the front and rear ideations. So these are basically just standard transportation design practice. As you go through a project, you kind of really want to work on honing in the front and rear. At this stage specifically, I was looking to both bring a level of harmony into the design compared to earlier weeks, as well as work on bringing a level of width to it as well. It was looking a little bit narrow before. We can see this week too, also before this presentation, I've been working on really trying to make the rear end feel more Jeep-like. Marek and I have been discussing and kind of struggling with the rear end not feeling like a Jeep. So this week was really trying to bring a level of kind of parallel lines that are pretty characteristic of the Jeep versus what I've been doing in the previous weeks. And then if we move on to the 3D, we'll look first at the extras. So the main kind of point in this area is looking at the front grille. So we can see two ideations based off of those 2D sketches for the grille. And then also one of the main kind of points for this vehicle has been using the grille as a grille, as I've been saying, which you can see here. So given that this is an EV vehicle, the grille really no longer serves a true purpose. So I wanted to give it some sort of, redefinition or some sort of new life. And I thought I could do that by having it be a grill. So this way it's a removable item that they can place over the fireplace, and then you can use the 7 grill slots as a place to roast your hot dogs. I figured it'd just be kind of a nice way to bring the campsite anywhere you go. And then you can see also, as Emil's showing, these tensioners throughout the design. This is also something, these, strengthening tensioning wires have been something that I discovered in 3D. I think with Gravity Sketch especially, it's really easy to just put some lines into things. And I think it brings a nice level of lightness to the design while still indicating that strength and dynamicism. And then moving on, we can see the wheel as well. So this is the fully detailed version of the wheel. And then you can, really see all the tread marks and so on. Super quick and easy to do things like this. In Alias, this would take, a day probably to make. And in here, it takes at most an hour, if that. And then we can also see here is looking at the frame and the interior. This is really the first true indication of how nonlinear this process has been. And by that, I mean, almost all of the interior and framework has been done in Gravity Sketch before I did anything in 2D. And a lot of the purpose of Photoshop has been to really just refine what I've been ideating in Gravity Sketch. And so really everything you're seeing here, it's been refined through various stages of jumping back and forth between Gravity Sketch and Photoshop. But the raw ideas for all of this came from Gravity Sketch, and it's been really good for that, especially with interior, given that everything needs to be, usable for a person. It's a really practical tool in that sense. And then moving on, we can see kind of the party piece for the exterior is the using this Brayon material. So for me, one of the core parts of the Wrangler design is that modular design aspect, that ability to really change the vehicle as often as you want. But as easy as it is on a Wrangler, there's still a level of complication to it. You still need, a garage to store your front fenders and stuff when you take them off and on. So I figured this way we could kind of bring a more harmonious aspect to modular design, using that Brayon flexible material to fold things in and out, give you more wheel clearance and so on in the sand dunes, and bring that kind of, higher level of sophistication to modular design. And then moving on, we can see, so this is basically full-blown design. This is the closed version of the design. So I guess the street version, if you will. This is trialing one of the front ends. And we can also see throughout everything, I'm always trying different CMF options. CMF, for anyone who doesn't know, is color, material, and finishes. So it's really me just trying a bunch of different setups in terms of colors and graphics and so on. We can look, into the interior, more detailed idea of the steering wheel and so on. All of this is set up in the non-autonomous mode, for the point of just, the fun of using sand dunes and going through off-roading and so on, is doing it yourself. And then moving on, we can see really the kind of showpiece for this is the stripped down version for the sand dunes. This is my favorite CMF palette at the moment. So we can see that front windshield folded down. We can see the door panels taken off, really utilizing as much detail as I can throughout it, while trying not to make it feel distracting in any way either. It's really been a case of harmonious design, and also bringing that kind of raw feel into a traditional project. And then also at the end of this, we can see. At the end of this too, we can see some of the new rear end designs I did. So this, again, is a great example of utilizing the Gravity Sketch tool. These I did before this presentation yesterday, working through, really trialing these new rear ends that feel more Jeep Wrangler to me. These started basically as just little tiny notebook sketches. And then I was able to just quickly take a photo of those sketches, bring them into Gravity Sketch, and then immediately model out, just to kind of get the rough idea of everything. And then after that, bring this into Photoshop and refine further from that. So it's really, I think sometimes now, in terms of modern designers, we can get accused of what's called reverse engineering, where we focus solely on the 3D model and then kind of make it look like we did it in 2D. But I think with Gravity Sketch, it really just allows you to switch back and forth very easily and really come up with what I would consider just a new workflow in general. And really just utilizing the benefits of each and every tool that we have access to. And that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jonathan. That was great. So at this point, we're going to invite all of our guests to put their headsets on, hop into collab with Jonathan, and have some discussions around this project.
Almost there. All right, I'm in.
I'm in as well. So.
Awesome. I guess I'll start if that's okay.
Sure, yeah, go for it, Ali.
First off, I just want to say amazing progress in the short time that you've been using this program and doing this project. Really, really love this substructure, this exposed substructure design element that you have here, and you've adapted it so well. And the latest rear end iterations are really nice as well. I know we kind of spoke about that earlier this week. Love the integrated surfboards as well. Just really strengthens the concept that this is going to be some kind of like beach sand dune crawler. Just from a design standpoint, you were talking about gaining width in the vehicle. And I think one thing that could help you in that regard is maybe adding some kind of DRL. Sorry, let me add a layer here. Adding some kind of DRL element here to illuminate the fender form, so that from a distance it's reading wider than it is, because right now the kind of square headlights you have are a little bit too inboard.
Yeah.
So it's making it feel narrow. But yeah, I really love the interior as well. This kind of origami-esque steering wheel is very interesting. I feel like it would be pretty comfortable to hold. But I'm not sure on how well it would handle sand dunes if you're, kind of driving a little bit more aggressively.
Okay.
But overall, I'm really impressed with your progress, and this is an amazing project.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ali, I'll join in on that. Yeah, just to echo what Ali's saying. Jonathan, you really embraced this project from the beginning, so we really appreciate your attitude and enthusiasm for it. And this is exactly the type of thing we like to see from students. It is an awesome opportunity to be able to work on a iconic brand such as Jeep. I'm part of the Stellantis team that we're fortunate to have that brand to work on as well. And every time I approach projects within the company, it's very much an opportunity to really kind of push the envelope and kind of give the vision for where the future is headed as far as our products. And I think you're really
Mark, I think we lost you there for a moment. If you wouldn't mind repeating that comment.
Well, I'll jump in then until Mark comes back. I also want to add that Jonathan was one of the
my internet.
Go for it.
That went up. You guys there?
Yep.
Yeah. You're just in and out.
Yeah, you're back, Mark. If you wouldn't mind repeating the last thing you were saying.
My internet's been breaking up. Sorry. Yeah, my internet has been breaking up. Sorry. Just to give kind of an overview of what Jonathan has done. He's really embraced this. So the design work is outstanding. The ability to sketch and then get into gravity sketch and work back and forth. That's exactly what it takes, and it's really good and refreshing to see. I can critique. I'm actually going to be on a session with him later today doing this as well, so I'll give him more input there. But the work is really quite well presented. The design solutions are just right, and the idea that taking the
think we might have lost him again. Yeah, Marek, do you want to
Sure.
go?
Yeah, I'll jump in. It's probably quite along the lines.
Yeah,
of,
go ahead, Marek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I really appreciated is that Jonathan was one of the students who really had the courage to take Jeep as a brand and Wrangler as a product into the new territories. Really more advanced thinking. Also kind of identified this whole idea of sand dunes as an opportunity for a vehicle like this to really enjoy that type of environment, and like Mark said, really went for it, pursued it. And he's also been a terrific student in the class, I have to say, because his in a way he demonstrated some leadership in embracing the tool that we started using from day one. So whether it had to do with setting up a presentation environment that was first in 2D work presentation, all the way into really finding the ways of how this tool can be used to both design and represent ideas that are formed in 2D first. So really applaud his ability to run with it and create the results that he has.
Thank you very much, Marek.
If I can just jump right back in, just for a little bit more of a critique, I would really love to see you explore a little bit more on the grill itself. It seems kind of like in the background of the concept itself. And Mark, you can attest to this. For a Jeep design, you kind of want to play up the grill. You want to make that a bold statement, as it is a Wrangler, and that's a proud, element of the vehicle itself. And if you see the current trends, where they're moving, or Stellantis is moving to more of an illuminated grill or 7 grill slots. So maybe playing some kind of element in there where they're a little bit more structural, they might be a little bit more illuminated, I think would go a long way for the Jeep brand.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, I had the same feeling actually looking at one of my classmates' projects this week too. Seeing what
that's right, Ali.
Really, yeah, I think there's a lot of inspiration I got from him on terms of the front end and rear end. So, yeah.
No, overall, it's really cool. I really like how you made these fender forms here, and how this kind of substructure like intersects it.
That's an area to explore more.
Yeah, I think still a little bit of an issue with scale of some of the front end graphics, at least both the grille, the headlamps, and so on, in overall relationship to the mass of the vehicle. I think we'll still talk more about that as we finalize the design.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll talk with Mark about that later today as well.
So speaking of which, I just want to highlight what you just mentioned about you and Mark meeting up. This was another first on this project. A VR tool like Gravity Sketch has enabled a relationship that we haven't had before. So this time, a sponsor can directly not just interact with or critique, but work in the same space with the designer, and that is really unprecedented. And Mark has been very generous with his time, so thank you, Mark, for that very much. I keep sending students to you. But I hope you don't mind. And they really, really benefit from that experience very much.
Sure. No problem.
Yeah, very appreciated, Mark. Thank you very much.
Not at all. Yeah, we enjoy critiquing and giving help and advice. So you bet.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, that was really...
Yeah, I'm sorry, my internet keeps breaking up, so I'm not going to risk saying much more. So
no problem, Mark. Yeah, that was really amazing to see. To see you all kind of looking at Jonathan's work together. And we've just had Daniela jump back in, I think, for question time.
Yeah, question time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Really impressive work. And I mean, like you said something really interesting, that you started working in 3D, working in Gravity Sketch. And in a way, I almost want to remove the brand names in the conversation, right? Like, is it Photoshop? Is it Gravity Sketch? It's more kind of like, is it 3D? Is it 2D?
Yeah.
Like, it's more around that, because what you're doing here and what this project at ArtCenter is doing is like trying to figure out how to push the boundaries in the right way possible. Like, these tools are new, right? Like, this way of working and expressing ourselves as designers is very, very new. So sometimes we don't even know how to go about it. And so you said something really interesting, that you started in 3D and then went to 2D. That's usually not kind of like the path that we see. So it would be really interesting to hear a little bit more about that. And there's also a question there, like in the audience, about this, like how was just kind of like jumping from one to the other? What were the kind of like things that you were actually doing to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I found it to be extremely useful, I think, in that sense. But also, maybe I have the advantage of like I've always liked working in 3D. I generally sometimes hop into it maybe sooner than other people, but I think, yeah, as I said, especially for the interior, it's just been amazing for it. Like, just because an interior is meant to be, again, designed around a human being, it really allows you to kind of sit in an interior and just map things out. And I think it kind of allows you to just make things in a way that you wouldn't think to make them in 2D. I think there's always sort of restrictions with how you think in each setting, just like there are also restrictions working in 3D. So it really, like, I would encourage anyone who's using this tool to design to try both ways. And there was definitely like a week where with the exteriors as well, I tried doing those in 3D first, and really just form exploration, really kind of unrefined and pretty messy, but then bringing that into 2D based off of those and using them kind of as inspiration, I guess. So there's just, yeah, there's tons of different uses for being able to go 3D first or 2D first.
It sounds like you were kind of like experimenting and like experiencing the actual vehicle. So it's not even about 3D.
Yeah, that's a good way to work.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
About-
I'll just pipe in.
Go for it, Mark. You're back. So. Oh, he might be giving.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jonathan's ability to work 3D. Yeah, sorry. So the ability to work 3D and sketch and back and forth, it's really encouraging, because, yeah, that's how I work, and I'm, very familiar with that process. So.
Marek, are you seeing different?
Did you guys hear me? Did I break up again?
Yes, no,
No,
we did hear you, Mark. Thanks. Marek, are you seeing different results with the students now that they're working? I even almost don't want to say in 3D, because 3D has a very kind of like specific meaning.
Yeah, it's the internet.
Like in a computer screen. Like, have you seeing different results with students working spatially and kind of like having these collaborations in this virtual environment versus other projects?
Yes. So what I find interesting is that, with every tool, whether it's physical or digital, every tool has brings something of its own to the table, right? So it can influence a design in a certain way, just the way that you think about using it and use it. An interesting thing about Gravity Sketch is that because of its multiple functions, multiple uses in the process, it's a great tool for presenting, as we're seeing today. It's a great tool for collaboration. It's a great tool for both modeling and creating. So, and there's a difference there, right? You might have a premeditated idea, or you might just get in there. And I think that's why it's so aptly named Gravity Sketch, because there's something about sketching that is a mix of premeditated and in the flow creativity. And the cool thing is that the Gravity Sketch is not restricted to one or the other, right? But it actually allows you to do both. It's also a great tool to bring in an already completely premeditated 2D design, setting up the planes of the 2D images in all the views and then using them as reference to construct are also a great way of using the tool. So, but like Jonathan mentioned, I think one of the very important things has to do with sense of space when it comes to the interior. But I would also say with a sense of scale, which is very often under considered in exterior design too. The students or even professionals will design a vehicle that without a context of scale may be correct or wrong, inappropriate or in error in the very scale of the design. So I think that's another aspect where Gravity Sketch is so helpful.
There's a question from the audience. Mark, and Jonathan, how much time do you spend critiquing together versus Jonathan working on his own?
Hugely disproportionate. Yeah, hugely disproportionate. It's usually, we have about maybe 15, 20 minutes of critique in class. And then I can do things like reach out to Mark. I assume that'll be maybe an hour or two long session today. But generally with any project we do, we're given, I don't know, usually we're spending something like 30 hours a week on it, probably 20 to 30 hours, if not more. In terms of our own just work, it often, you don't need to critique, I think, as long as you need to work, I guess.
What will be used to animate this end project?
We're figuring that out now. Marek leaves it pretty much up to us. The two main candidates are going to be between Twinmotion and Blender, just because they both offer really useful aspects in terms of human animation. And this project, because we need to tell so much of a story with it, needs to have a lot of human character animation and so on, which you can't really accomplish in something like Keyshot as easily.
All right, I saw one. Are the props for the scene done in Gravity Sketch or imported OBJ files?
Everything has been done in Gravity Sketch so far. Yeah, like all of the detail work, that's all Gravity Sketch. To me, it's actually been a little bit difficult, I think, in that sense, just for me personally, because I'm a big Alias fan, and I've really tried to challenge myself to not just rely on other 3D programs to do this. I think there are a lot of advantages to working in Gravity Sketch that I've found so far from just the design aspect. And so I've been trying my best to stay away from anything else, but it is possible. I've seen other kids in the class do it. It's worked pretty effectively.
All right. Well, those were most of the questions in the audience. There's one for you, Becca. How do people get involved with the education program?
Yeah, great question. So anyone interested in being part of the education program, go onto the Gravity Sketch website, go to the education page, and we've got a get in touch form. So yeah, we've got a great team here that puts together lots of resources to help students and professors utilize GS in the classroom. I'd also recommend following our Instagram page, Gravity Sketch EDU, where we run competitions for students, show lots of student work and that kind of thing.
Great, thanks. And yeah, I'm loving how Emil is just showing how to put the mannequin in there and test a few things out.
Right. I would just jump in on that. The use of mannequins and the ease of using them in Gravity Sketch has also been really great for storytelling in both concept communication and presentation. So really great, another great tool in the toolbox that comes also with the ability to inject your presentation with a sense of humor as well, which goes a long way.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And that kind of like gives me one last question for all of you. And it's this, this new way of working and this new way of kind of like expressing ideas. In a way, it's kind of like piggybacking on some of the terminology that we have been using for, a really long time for 3D. Sometimes we try to not say that it is a sketch, because a sketch kind of like sometimes is kind of like, synonym for a perspective drawing on a flat surface. So how would you kind of like actually describe this? How would you call this sort of work? Is this a sketch for you? Is this a 3D model for you? Is this kind of like a concept? Like yesterday, New Balance was talking about like they're calling it kind of like concept models as opposed to like finished models. But there's a whole conversation going on. Like we don't even know how to call these things because it's a mix of everything.
Go for it, Marek.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, please add yours, Jonathan, too. But to me, what's also super exciting about this tool is it's constantly evolving. And the sophistication is growing. So a gravity sketch used from a couple of years ago is a very different experience to what we have today. And the ability to create more and more sophisticated surfacing and detailing has been, escalating. And so I think that whatever terminology anybody comes up with, I'm sure will be evolving very quickly as the tool develops.
Yeah, and the beauty of the program is that it's so flexible. Like as Daniela was just saying, it's a mix of everything. So you can go into Gravity Sketch wanting to do a sketch, you could whip out a sketch. If you want to do a model, you could do a model. If you want to storyboard, you could storyboard. That's the beauty of the program. It's so flexible, and you can use it in different workflows all across multiple industries.
Yeah, I think there's a great kind of duality to the tool. And it just has so many options. I think and I would commend you guys on this. Like, it doesn't try to be the best in any one thing, and therefore it allows it to be really versatile and kind of the best in its own right in terms of its just versatility. You look at something like Alias, which is like the best for surface quality, but Alias is such a difficult program to use, and there's a lot that has to be learned about it. But Gravity Sketch is just so intuitive. And it's so easy to just really, come up with ideas, but also has a level of, sub D surface quality that can be quite competitive and pretty good. So really approaches a broad range of the design process, which is cool.